Like, if you go back to any time, when would that be?
That would be when I left Alaska. I had a plan to go to New Mexico for 4 months for a sabbatical, and it took me 3 years to get there. Hey everybody, I'm Joan and I'm from Tucson, Arizona. I'm currently at Woods Canyon Lake, which is where I'm working right now, doing the Bald Eagle project for Arizona. I get to do this every year, and it's kind of cool because I camp from February to August. I am originally from the East Coast and managed to make my way to Alaska and then out to Texas and then to Tucson, and who knows where I'm going to go next. Just met up with Chris, and he's a kindred soul, so it's kind of fun. It's nice when you work a place where there's so many people that you get to actually have a real conversation. So we're having a real conversation in the boat.
All right, you were saying earlier about your Westphalia. So you drive a Westphalia. What year is it, and how long have you had it?
I drive a '78 green Westphalia. I've had it for 20 years. It was given to me as a gift with 40,000 miles on the original engine, and I now have 235,000. I've taken that van everywhere. I live in that van when I can. And probably they're going to have to bury me in my van, I don't know. Actually, I'm going to restore it this year, but I've done so many different trips, and I think it's as cool as Chris is actually getting on the road to do some trips that up to Alaska, camping throughout the country, and there's nothing like it. I spent almost 2 years living in my vehicle, traveling out of Alaska and never camping in a campground, never staying in a motel, and having the best adventures of my life. So yeah, the van is the way to go.
So you told me a couple of your adventures, like some of them are, well, everyone you told me was really cool, but like if there's one that sticks out in your head, even if it's one that you already told me, which is your favorite experience in the van? I know it's a long period of time and it's just to the point question, but if you could pick one to relive, what would it be?
If I could relive an entire trip, I did a 3-week trip out through the deserts, up through the Escalante into Utah, north rim of the Grand Canyon. I gotta say, just having no destination and no timetable, just to go. So I had a lot of adventures. I got stuck in a sand pit. I actually was telling Chris, I told you that I ran into another VW, the exact make and model, coming down the side of a canyon into a cliff canyon off dirt road that was like 40 miles out of nowhere. And it was a German couple driving the same exact vehicle, and we couldn't communicate in English or German. So we just smiled and laughed and waved at each other and drove up the opposite sides and never saw each other again. So those spontaneous things that happen out in the field, that's what's really sweet.
So out of all your traveling, everywhere you've been so far, if you could pick one point in history, one time when you were, either it be traveling or if you were working a job, like if you go back to any time, when would that be?
That would be when I left Alaska. I had a plan to go to New Mexico for 4 months for a sabbatical, and it took me 3 years to get there. I was 33 at the time, and like it was part of that big trip I took. It took me about 3 months to get out of my head, and then once I did, I didn't want to stop. So I just kept going until I absolutely ran out of money. And I wound up in Austin, Texas with $11 left to my name, and it was Christmas time, and there was no going back to Alaska. So I actually landed a job temporarily that came out of nowhere, Providence. One of those things that you're sitting in a campground, you can't even pay the camp fee, and it's Christmas. And I wound up building the first AIDS hospital in the country. I was offered the job to project manage it, so I spent the next 10 months of my life building this hospital and then living in my car and living in a trailer, and then being graced with the gift of the van actually that year. After all that hard work, I was given that van as a gift.